Cool. What's up, LRG crew? It's meeting time. We get together every single week and we kind of review the market stats. We're looking for strategies to best help our clients, and we're just sharing successes and talking about scenarios that are out there so we can always be effective as a team for all those that we have the privilege to serve. And today, Ryan Erekson with Guild Mortgage, our preferred lender, is here with us. And we've seen a lot of cool things as we've entered the 2023 year, in that buyers that were pretty hesitant in the last 6 months of last year are starting to get a little more curious. The rates are down a little. We had peaked at 7% at one point, but we're closing in on 6, even high 5s in the VA world, which is causing people to be a little more curious, that are concerned about affordability as interest rates impact sales prices in our market. So a couple weeks ago, Ryan gave us this tool that you guys can see up on the share screen. You all have it. I've used this a number of times in the last couple weeks because it's kind of like a grid or a chart that breaks down interest rates in general in 0.5% increments, going from left to right, smaller to higher rates, and then sales prices from 250,000 to 650,000 in 50,000 increments, going from lower price to higher price. And we can expand this grid with Ryan's help at any time, and we can change rates. We can do them at 0.25% increments, 8% increments, 25,000 differences in sales prices. We can go to 1 million. We can go as high or as low as we want in sales prices. But this is a cool tool because I want to ask Ryan 3 questions today. One of them is, what is he seeing from a lender in the market with buyer activity? The second one will be, how are buyers solving the affordability issue with using interim or short-term interest rate buy downs? And the third one will be on the same lines as buying the rate down, but more of a permanent buy down versus a temporary buy down. So let's go, Ryan, with the first question, though. Hey, kick it off. Everybody meet Ryan. He is our preferred lender. He's a really smart guy, runs a great team over at Guild Mortgage. And he is just really wise when it comes to helping buyers solve affordability issues. What are you seeing shifted in 2023, Ryan?
Honestly, it just feels like things are calming down a little bit. There's not quite as much fear and nervousness, mostly because rates have come down. And I don't think it's just that they've come down. I think it's that they've stopped increasing. When they kept increasing, we had no idea when it was going to stop. It was scary for everybody. We had no idea when it was going to stop, if it was going to stop. But now that things have calmed down and we know just what to expect more than anything, there's a little bit less fear. So now we're back to having conversations with people about plans now, plans in the future. People are just more open to getting back into conversations with us. There's just a lot less fear than there was for the last year or so, and the holidays are over. January is always a little bit busier.
Yeah. Have you seen like loan application inquiries tick up a little, or people, wanting to have appointments with you more?
Yeah, so mortgage applications in the past about 10 days have increased almost 30%. Part of it's holidays, part of it's interest rates. I think it's just a combination of things being less scary, rates being better, holidays being over, New Year's resolutions. All of these have led to a huge spike in mortgage applications. Yeah. So if you're considering buying a house now or in the next 12 months, just have a conversation. Our job is not to sell you on buying a house now. It's to help you come up with a game plan for you, and then you decide when works for you.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Dave, didn't you send something out to the team too regarding the same topic? Like you're seeing an uptick too with some of the resources you're following?
Yeah, it was on CNBC this morning that mortgage applications were up 28% last week. And I had sent to my sphere that, given the fact that inventory was at 8,000 homes, now about 6,000 single family, this uptick in mortgage demand might very well change the buyer's market into a seller's market. So people that are on the fence need to watch that very closely if they're trying to time things.
Yeah, timing is always a tricky thing. Cool. Ryan, you've taught us a lot about temporary buy downs and permanent buy downs. Let's hit the temporary buy down topic first. What have you seen that's been effective for you working with borrowers with temporary buy down solutions. Even when rates were even hitting 7%, you were teaching us how that was kind of effective, using various sources to help with the costs of that. Could you kind of give us a quick overview again on the temporary buy down solution for those that don't know what that is?
Yeah, of course. So a temp buy down basically just allows us to temporarily lower a rate and payment. It doesn't mean your actual rate for your mortgage is going to be lower, and it's not adjustable like an ARM. That's something people are still a little bit nervous about. It allows us to go in and just temporarily lower an interest rate for 1 to 3 years for up to 3%. If we do this, it allows us to just temporarily short-term go in and lessen the payment shock that a lot of us are experiencing because rates went up as fast as they did. So if somebody plans on being in their house for a year, 2, 3 years, this is a way that we can go in and short term get their payment to a place where it's more affordable so you can go out and buy a house. Or if you can't quite get to the purchase price you want because rates and payments are so expensive now, it's also a good solution for us to go in and help somebody increase what they can qualify for or what they can afford payment wise by temporarily lowering that rate and payment. It's a really good short term fix. A lot of it comes down to our individual plans with our clients. When I have a conversation with somebody about a temporary buy down, the conversation starts around their plans for the house. What's your goal payment? What's your max payment you're okay going up to for the right house, or if you have to? That gives us our parameters to start with, and then we see what that gets us. And if we can't get the house we want, the next conversation right now is usually temp buy down, and can we temporarily get the payment there? And then we come up with a rough plan for in the future how to improve it. When it comes to buying houses, something I tell people a lot is your payment, as long as you can afford it, we can always go in and improve it later. We can improve your rate as your balance gets paid down. We can go in and lower your payment. The purchase price and how much you're paying to purchase that house, that part you can't change later, but we can change the payment later. So if you can get a good price, you can use seller credits like we can now. We can still go in and fix the payment temporarily and improve it later on. Still, that's one piece we can work with in the future.
Yeah. What is the time frame with the word temporary? Like how long can somebody temporarily buy the rate down, and where can the contribution come from to assist that solution?
So we can do it for up to 3 years. The max you can reduce the interest rate by is 3% for the first year, and then it would be 2% second year, 1%. So it kind of has a waterfall up to what the actual rate is. Or you can do a 2-1, which would be a 2% for the first year, 1% for the second year. The temp buy down we're using the most is just a 1 year. So we do 1% for 1 year. So even getting somebody from 6 to 5, that's a big difference in payment, like you can see on that chart. Yeah. Sometimes that's enough to get somebody that extra $50,000 in purchase price or lower their payment by a few $100 so it's affordable. If we do just a 1%, it can be paid for by buyer, lender, or seller. If we're doing a 3 or 2, seller or lender have to pay for it, the buyer can't. Which makes the market we're in the perfect scenario for using it, because the market is a little, maybe not buyer market, but a little more buyer friendly, and seller credits are more common right now than they've been for a while. So that's an option that we don't normally have.
Yeah, that's a huge point, because we're seeing on the listing side that some of the sellers have decided to even offer that out the gate with their marketing strategy to present their home to the buying audience out there. So that's huge.
Yeah.
So shifting to a permanent buy down, we're hearing a lot of people like really look at that right now because of the cost to do that. So what's a permanent buy down, and what are you using today with that regard?
The decisions on permanent buy down comes down to your plans for the house. One thing that you should always know going into the house is roughly how long you think you'll have it for. When we're looking at permanent buy downs, whether it's a good idea or not depends on how long you're going to be in the house. If you're not going to be there for more than a couple of years, typically you're not going to make that money back that you're spending up front. So a temp buy down would be a better idea.
Yeah.
A permanent buy down normally takes 2 to 3 years to make that money back. Another thing to take into consideration with permanent buy downs is the direction of the market. So right now we're watching interest rates trend lower. So if you go and you permanently spend money up front that you never get back to get a lower rate, when we could have possibly refinanced 6, 12, 18 months from now and got you that same rate for no cost, you might have ended up wasting that money. Yeah. But it starts with your plans for the house, how long you think you're going to be there, and then we compare the best way to get you the payment you want. Almost all these solutions strategies are around our payment goal first and then plans for the house. That's what
So
we use to determine which one's better.
someone wanted to live 5 to 7 years or kind of longer, is this a good discussion to have with them?
Yeah, it is, especially if you have seller credit, so you're not paying for it. If
Yep.
somebody was going to pay for it themselves, I would most likely advise they wait.
Yeah.
Because there's a very good chance that rates continue to decline some. We don't know how far. There's a good chance they continue to trend lower as inflation improves. So it's likely we're going to be refinancing at some point before you hit that break even. So you might end up wasting that money. It might be better spent on temporarily lowering it or lowering your upfront costs instead. Keep all your costs up front. We create a two-step plan. We go get the rate as low as possible later on.
Yeah, that's huge, because one of the things that led to this conversation, because some of the buyers out there that are hesitant, that are waiting, and they might wait a year or two, they may miss the opportunity to take advantage of seller flexibility and put themselves back in a high demand situation where you're competing for homes again. And when buyer competition happens, right, you end up paying more or waiving this or giving back to the seller in a different way instead of benefiting from the seller now. So Ryan, would you agree, as we close this up today, that no matter what, right, if someone is in the market in their curiosity phase to buy a home in the next 3, 6, 12 months, they should at least have a conversation with somebody like you to understand all the programs and all the techniques to solve short-term hesitation solutions that they may not even be aware of, so that they may realize that, man, maybe today is the time to buy, to take advantage of a great market for a buyer with seller flexibility, because there are solutions to navigate the interest rate debacle that we have.
Yeah, honestly, I think the biggest mistake people make when it comes to buying houses is just not planning ahead, period. So I think whether you plan on buying now because you want to or have to, or any point in the future, you should have a conversation now and see what your situation looks like, help come up with a game plan, set goals for what it needs to look like for you. And then it's pretty easy to decide if now's the right time or if you need to wait for the right circumstances. I think the conversation could be had sooner. Even if you own a home already and at some point you think you might want to do something different with that house, get a different house, have a conversation sooner so you know exactly how things look. Kind of like going to your doctor, like getting a checkup on your health. It's a much better idea to do it ahead of time or regularly and make sure that you understand where you're at and things you should be doing so your future is better. You can do the same exact thing with your real estate wealth. Plan ahead, whether you plan on doing anything right now or not. Have conversations with your real estate professionals and plan ahead and get ready. You know what things look like.
Makes a lot of sense. Dave, you got any thoughts on this topic too, or questions for Ryan?
No, I really don't. We've talked about this a lot, and I just think this is a great way to counsel clients getting ready for a market that's going to turn, and don't wait. You just don't want to get caught here trying to time the market. Any good investor knows that when people like us try to time the market, all we do is get screwed. The market's smarter than we are. Just follow the trends, be prepared, and be around knowledgeable professionals so we can guide you through this so you do not get caught.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Well, thanks for sharing that topic, and we'll be back next week with some more insight to push out to the audience that we serve in the buyer and seller and investing market. Cool. Thank you guys for doing that.